What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I am your host. It is Tuesday, May 3rd. If you are watching us on YouTube, and I hope you are watching us on YouTube, youtube.com/pick6. If not, if you're just listening to the podcast in audio form, of course, we still love you, but it's probably Wednesday, May 4th, which I'm sure Breech will make some Star Wars joke. I won't be the one to do it. If you want me to, Ryan Wilson and John Breech joining me for this podcast. If you want to talk Star Wars, the only thing I'm interested in is like who can do the best Vulcan neck pinch.
Yeah, that joke's tired already. So listen.
Nah, it drives Star Wars.
Jar Jar Binks.
So here, you want to hear the most Star Wars thing ever? This will make you actually angry, Brinson. And Debo, you'll just nod your head knowingly. I got a call today from producer Brian Telly because I'm going to do a segment tomorrow morning, which I thought was going to be about the draft grades or whatever. He wants to do a Star Wars draft of the first 10 picks, like which teams would take which Star Wars characters with the first 10 picks on May the 4th.
What?
So tune in tomorrow to find out.
Well, I mean, like Darth Vader's your number one overall, but he just strangles people and kills them. You win. The other team has to forfeit. They don't have enough players.
So I'll give you a sneak peek. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars and you need help along the offensive line or defensive line or wherever, who's the first Star Wars character?
Can you not cheat and use the Force is my question. Can you cheat and use the Force, or can you not cheat?
Well, it's like, it's like Star Wars universe. So Luke Skywalker isn't winning automatically because he has the Force.
So you have to play by NFL rules.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not like the original Superman, where he outran the train.
Well, right, but Luke can just use the Force and knock over a defensive lineman if he's on the offensive line.
But he doesn't
small
do
and scrappy, but he's got the powers.
Okay, yeah. So just NFL rules. Fair enough.
Okay.
Jesus.
I'm going Chewbacca.
He was a top 10 pick, but you know who I took for Jacksonville Jaguars?
Jabba the Hutt.
Jabba the Hutt.
No, did you?
Yeah, to protect Trevor Lawrence. See, fun game,
move.
right?
There's no lateral movement. He's only.
So you took Jabba number one
for the Jacksonville Jaguars because I was going to take.
That's exactly what Jacksonville would do because they don't know how to draft.
No, but he's 20 yards wide. By the time you get around him,
Trevor Lawrence is draft guru, and you're taking Jabba the Hutt with your top pick.
All right, we'll do one more. Detroit has the number 2 pick. Who are you taking?
Chewie Chewbacca.
I took the Rancor. Suck it, nerd.
The Rancor. He can't do anything. These things can't move.
He's enormous.
What is he? Is he a running back? Where are you putting the Rancor?
No, he's an edge rusher.
Oh my god! And Jabba the Hutt is the one blocking him, so they're just going to cancel each other out.
Oh, I'm crushing it. This is actually, I was like, Tully, what are you doing? And by the end of it, we were all laughing like two old guys that love Star Wars. All right, Brinson, go ahead. I know you don't want to talk about this anymore, but watch.
I haven't been listening for
watch HQ 8:12 on Wednesday morning and be enthralled on May.
I'm
actually surprised that Brinson did not make is Picard on Star Wars one of the classic Brinson jokes where
who hates Star Wars number one? Who gets angry about Batman? Debo, have you seen the new Batman?
Devo's already asleep
I
from
think
our Star Wars conversation. He's out.
I didn't hate it.
I got to be honest. I rewatched the Batman.
The Michael Keaton Batman, or is that what they call it?
No. I tried to watch it twice.
Oh, you watched
finally watched the whole thing. It's fine.
Well, why are you whinging about it for?
Because people are like, I just don't need any more Batman. Stop trying to reinvent Batman.
I loved it.
It's just like some dude had to be like a little like I don't need whiny emo Batman. Like is Bruce Wayne wearing like eye makeup? What is happening here?
He wasn't whiny.
I will say I agree with Brinson in one sense that I'm a huge Batman fan, and this thing got so much hype going in. I think my expectations were too high. And
here's the thing: you're exactly
I thought
right.
it was a good movie. It wasn't great.
The problem is the expectations.
Filmmaker watches Dark Knight, feels need to put spin on it and have like evil Riddler. Like, what are we doing?
Here's both your problems, and not a problem, but just your lot in life, your station in life. I had no expectations because I don't pay attention to any sort of superhero universe first. So I love the Batman because I just went into it blindly, and I don't care about the backstory, any of that stuff. And that's the same reason I love the new Spider-Man.
Okay, but the difference is, look. No, we got to get started on these grades.
Well,
we got to do the whole conference. It takes the entire hour. And when you spend 10 minutes talking about effing Batmans and Spider-Mans, all of a sudden it's like an hour and 15 minutes and nobody wants to be podcasting for that long.
You shouldn't have brought up May the 4th be with you, Brinson. It was your fault.
Yeah, that was your fault.
You got us off on this tangent.
I said Yeah, fair enough.
He caught himself in his own lie. Oh, by the way, I missed yesterday's podcast because I was telling Debo I thought my 13-year-old dog was going to die. Nah, just wanted me to spend $300 at the vet. He's fine. So I'm back.
Vets are
That's a rough way to end the draft.
Right?
The oldest dog in the world is only 21. Your dog is 13. That's insane.
Suck it up, dog. Yeah, he's
100 in dog years.
still kicking. 91. Not bad.
It's not bad.
Breech, do you think you'll live to be 91?
No.
I'm with you.
I think there's a pretty good chance you will.
Yeah. Do you want to be alive at
I'm
91?
saying no.
I think 91 won't be that bad for us.
Why? Where it's not like
I mean,
we're
because look
Are we
at,
former
our
athletes that I don't know
grandparents,
about
like,
it?
Things
70,
are
was
getting
like,
better.
and like my
Yeah.
dad's 70 and he's just like he's rocking. He's 72 now, actually.
Yeah, I don't know your dad, but I'm guessing he's probably in better shape than you.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, I will say that if Brinson went back in time, or really any of us, like people look a lot younger now. 40-year-old in
Oh, yeah,
1970
That's what I'm
100%.
saying.
looked like they were 80s.
Who was the it was like, remember that somebody did it was like
The
here's
white
Tom
Tittle.
Brady playing at age
Tom
40. And
Brady.
you're like it was like here's Norm Van Brocklin. He's like on a rocker, like
Right.
fucking
He
fall over.
looks like the old version of Obi-Wan to bring it back to circle.
I mean, because like nobody
forth.
like I mean, yeah, we're gonna live a
Yeah.
lot longer than
91, I'm okay with that. I'm good.
look. My grandmother is about to turn 100.
Jeez.
She
How's she
hasn't like left her nursing home bed in a long time.
Oh,
That
see?
I'm not here for. And like I
No.
don't want her to go anywhere, but I mean, I haven't really
She might want to go somewhere. The thing is,
I don't think she does. She's too tough.
but I remember, and we'll get on it.
I agree to your point. Like
Leslie Nope, whatever her real name is. I remember she said she had talked to some old people that worked at SNL when she was there, like in their 80s, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm ready to go whenever."
it was George Blanda. That's who it was. Yeah,
George. I thought it was white.
George Blanda at 43 looks.
Oh,
like,
there it is. Oh God,
He looks older than my 72-year-old father.
To be fair to George Blanda, Tom Brady's not even a human, so that's unfair. All right, let's go.
Tom Brady definitely had reconstructive jaw surgery, by the way.
I don't know. I thought that as well, and then I got some pushback on that.
I did too.
What? From Brady?
Brady Quinn.
George Blanda.
Look at
He's
that.
like he's younger than Tom Brady in these.
You're watching on
You can
YouTube.
see
We have
YouTube.com/pick6.
Yeah.
Oh my God, is that Breech's greatest tweet ever?
it's up there, man. That is up there.
7,000.
That was
7,000
from-
likes.
That was from Sunday Night Football.
Nah.
And it shows 43-year-old Tom Brady next to 43-year-old George Blanda. So they're literally the same age at the point in these pictures.
Brady's older.
And Brady is actually 51 days older when these pictures were taken. And Brady, Blanda looks like he's about 31 years older than Brady. It's insane.
How many more packs
Blanda
of
looks like
cigarettes?
he's in his 70s for sure.
How many more packs of cigarettes has George Blanda smoked than Tom Brady over the course of those 43 years?
I mean, how many packs of cigarettes has George Blanda smoked?
Yeah.
a million.
That's
A
your
million.
answer.
A million's the answer.
So just whatever the number is that George Blanda smoked minus 0 is that's your answer. All right, we got to
What a
do
world.
16.
Yeah, we need to get these grades.
grades. Let's get started.
15.
We'll start in the NFC East. We'll start with Brian Wilson giving us a grade for the New York Football Giants. 2 picks in the top 7. Always helpful when you're trying to construct a good draft, even in a bad draft class. And they come up with Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal. They had swooped back in the second round and grabbed Wan'Dale Robinson, screwing me over when I thought they were going to take Malik Willis. I was going to really make some quiche. Joshua is Izudu. I didn't do that right.
It's close enough.
Someone
doing-
named Cordell Flott.
Float.
I'm just kidding.
He got the hard one right and the easy one wrong.
Daniel Bellinger, Dane Belton, Micah McFadden, DJ Davidson, Marcus McKeithen, and Darian Beavers. What's your grade for this Giants draft class? I mean, how are you not going to give? They had 2 picks in the top 7. They got
It's
2
funny you say that. So here's what I do. I don't do grades, quote unquote. I do rankings, and I do the rankings based on where I thought these players would go during the pre-draft process, based on where they actually went. So it's not necessarily an indictment on the Giants if we disagree. It's just a sort of a reflection of what I thought and how close or far away I was from what actually happened in reality. That said, with that caveat, the Giants in my rankings ranked 29th out of 32 teams,
Really?
which seems crazy.
So in other words,
I'll tell you here. I'll give you an example. So Wan'Dale Robinson, I had him as like a mid.
just like, let's say you have Wan'Dale Robinson at 65 and he goes 43, you dock them.
Exactly. So I had him as a mid 4th rounder. He went early 2nd.
So in other words, getting Thibodeau and Neal at 5 and 7 doesn't really benefit them.
I mean, right, they're great picks, but I had Kayvon Thibodeau as going 8th overall. He went 5th. Evan Neal going 9th overall. He went 7th.
Oh, so they actually, no wonder you have them way low. But
That's
you got to give a grade for this podcast. What's your grade?
It's not way low, just different. So, that said, I'm
just saying, like, they have 2 picks in the top 10 and they get docked points technically for.
Sort of. Well, it's just a comparison. It's not necessarily good or bad, but right. So I give him a B plus because love the Thibodeau and Neal pick. I like Wan'Dale Robinson just too early. Typically, you don't take undersized receivers that high, especially in the second. I mean, that's a huge sort of stretch. Daniel Bellinger I like, but I know some teams thought he wasn't as athletic. Dane Belton I really liked. I had him going in the 4th, about where he went. McFadden, Davidson, and Beavers I all liked a lot as well. So the sort of the outlier was Wan'Dale Robinson, and that affected their quote unquote grade, if you want to call it, in terms of how I had these guys ranked. But overall, I mean, this team is a lot better today than they were a week ago. And Wan'Dale Robinson also maybe overdraft him because you're trying to cover yourself for Kadarius Toney. So I get it.
Yeah, that seemed like that exactly what that was.
I love what they did, but in terms of my rankings, there was a little difference. Primarily with the Wan'Dale Robinson pick. Everything else, I had Azudo going in the 6th. He went in the 3rd, so that also affected it. But everything else, I'm pretty much on board with.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll say about the Wan'Dale Robinson pick is that, when you're saying, hey, they reach for that person, that guy shouldn't have gotten that early, or you're knocking, especially at wide receiver, you got to consider the other guys that were still on the board that they could have taken,
right.
Like John Mechie, George Pickens, Sky Moore, I think are all receivers that would have been a better pick there than Wan'Dale Robinson.
Exactly.
But, like you said, they got 2 surefire starters with those 2 first-round picks. And, you're a Giants fan. You have seen them blow high picks before. And so you're just crossing your fingers, hoping it doesn't happen again. And they didn't do that there. And so, yeah, I think that's the biggest part of their draft, obviously. And I think they're probably happy with the first-rounders they came away with. I like Ryan's grade.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Look, I mean, I don't want to speak too much to Wan'Dale Robinson, but I thought that the Giants had a lot of subterfuge to their draft, and that's interesting to me to see how that plays out in the future, because we were told they were not going to take Kayvon Thibodeau. Evan Neal also had some bad medicals leaked out. Who knows who could that have been? And they were heavily smoke screened with Malik Willis on day 2. So I just
where did that come from? You were pushing it. Who else was pushing it?
Maybe it was just me.
There you go. By the way, I saw quickly that the Batman movie was trending on Twitter. I hope that you had everything to do with that.
Today it was?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I'm sure that makes your day.
Not
Good
really.
Lord, that is some good water. I'm just saying.
Are you drinking beer now?
Drinking water.
I'm drinking a little Espolón.
You drinking tequila?
Starbucks.
Yeah, it's a Tommy Tran kind of day.
It's Cinco de Mayo week.
PM.
Cinco de Mayo week, Wilson. Brinson.
This guy gets done with the draft, files his last article. And goes full Vince Carter, having a nice. I don't blame you. I mean, like, that's.
What's the Vince Carter reference?
It's over.
Oh, he said that?
He does the slam dunk contest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm done with y'all fools.
I don't know what. No, don't click on the Batman.
Okay. I didn't click on it. I didn't click on it. It's not Will Brinson related?
No, it's not. I don't know what's going on.
I'm sorry.
That's not Batman Street.
I think this is we're 14 minutes in the podcast and we've done one team.
The Philadelphia Eagles.
I got all day, people.
Wilson be bleep can. I almost dropped it. I was cussed for the first time. Wilson be bleep can.
Debo's definitely quitting this podcast.
Caleb Campson points out in the chat, Wilson turning into Batman, drinking and getting emo. Brinson must be triggered.
I know. Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely triggered.
Emo Brinson.
Wilson, the Eagles, they selected Jordan Davis, Cam Jurgens, Nakobe Dean, Kyron Johnson, Grant Calcaterra, and OBT Dubs. They also traded for AJ Brown with one of their first round picks. What's your grade for the Eagles draft?
OTP Dubs. What is that?
By the way.
Oh, I was like, what's that guy's initials? Yeah. So I had them in my rankings going 3rd, based on what they did.
I think it's an A+.
And it's an A+, even if you don't have AJ Brown in there. But once you throw AJ Brown in there, it might be an A++. Jordan Davis, they were sort of linked to him throughout the process. Makes a ton of sense. Cam Jurgens was often considered not even the poor man's, but the next man's version of Tyler Linderbaum. He's actually taller and a little heavier. Nakobe Dean, I absolutely love. Prisco was bad-mouthing important to Nakobe Dean all weekend because he's small and he gets hurt all the time. But I love him. Kyron Johnson, I think he's about 230. He might even be a little bit lighter than that. Played on the edge at Kansas. He can go all over the place. Special teams guy. The Eagles explained why they drafted him when they did. If he went a little higher, I wouldn't be surprised. And Grant Calcaterra was there at 6'14", only because of the concussion history. He's sort of a long, huge target in the middle of the field. Just checking boxes is what you're doing. So A+ feels like that the right move for me. Debo, if you're back with us, I'm guessing you had zero issues with that draft, or was there any point did you want someone that you didn't get?
Zero issues. At one point, when they took Cam Jurgens, I was like, all right, there's some other players that I would have preferred there. And even Dean was like, who I wanted at 51, and then you get him at 83. But then you see the video of Jason Kelce reacting and kind of claiming that he was his favorite prospect in this draft. He's been helping the Eagles all along. So that eased any concerns I had about Cam Jurgens at 51. So, yeah.
Yeah, I like Cam Jurgens in the.
If Demo's mad about anything, is that you only went with 1+ on the A. So,
I said 2+.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, because
you haven't been around, but Brinson is now a self-proclaimed Philadelphia Eagles fan, and I think it's BS.
Worst case scenario for you, by the way.
Yep. Yeah, sorry.
I am gonna personally it's best case for me because either the Eagles are great and I'm like, yep, early on the bandwagon, or B, the Eagles. I am the reason the Eagles completely tank. Although Debo, worth pointing out, who was my team last year.
The Lions,
Stafford,
the Los Angeles Rams. I don't know if you guys
did
are
you
aware.
pick them?
No,
what?
No. Stafford was your quarterback. The Rams.
Yeah, I was rooting for the Rams the entire season. That was my team going.
No, I talked the Rams out. I talked you out.
I didn't pick them. That was my team though. That's why I wanted to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, I see. I didn't pick them either. They were my team as well. Bengals weren't my team.
Yeah, my team went to the Super Bowl too, but I didn't pick them.
And they lost.
Take credit.
Oh, we missed.
By the way, Brinson is basically a younger version of Prisco. Prisco said to me after the draft, "You did a good job, but you need to be meaner." I said, "Pete, I'm basically the therapy dog balancing out all the negativity coming off of you and Brinson." And that remains the case here. So good luck, Debo.
Brinson is a walking jinx, and the Eagles are going to finish in last place because Brinson's on their bandwagon. That's it.
Oh, you know what I might do? I'll pick the Bengals to win the Super Bowl.
Well, you know what? I will go in and change your pick. I know how the back end of the system works.
That's quite a response.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys say.
I was going to say, like, during the first round, when the A.J. Brown trade went down, we were waiting on Breech was writing about the trade, maybe, or Traps was doing something. One of them was supposed to do a video with me, and we couldn't get him on there. And Devo kept like firing up his video and be like, "You just want to go now? You just want to go now? Like, let's just talk about it now."
There you go. Debo.
Have you seen Debo? Debo, let's see what you look like these days.
Oh, it's a beard haggard.
Oh, he's got a mustache.
Oh, he's great.
He's back to normal. He's looking like Warren Sharp during the draft weekend.
That was just a draft weekend looked.
Jeez,
we call Debo little Warren Sharp.
Do you have to shave twice a day, Debo? That's pretty quickly that came in.
Little Jerry Seinfeld. Okay. Anyway, Eagles have a good draft, Breach. We're going to skip your analysis and just move on.
Hold on. I have a quick question, though. Debo, how excited were you about the A.J. Brown trade?
I mean, it came out of nowhere. There was no rumors. There was no speculation out of it. A couple months ago, it's like, oh, the Eagles were close to Calvin Ridley. I went into the draft. The number one player I wanted, and I told you guys this a couple months ago, was Jameson Williams. But I come out of it with A.J. Brown and Jordan Davis. I'm way happier than I thought I could be entering the draft.
There you go. Yeah, that was a good week. Good
pairs super well with Devontae Smith. Give Jalen Hurts a chance. If not, they draft Will Levis next year.
All right, I'm going to ask a quick personal question. Did you watch the draft with your lady friend, or were you working?
Ooh. I was at the office.
I was going to say, is she down for you acting crazy about the Eagles stuff, or she's okay with that?
No, she understands. She's like, why did they trade for a player that already? She asked some questions, but the draft. A.J. Brown, Jordan Davis, I told Brinson this, happened simultaneously with the Sixers clinching a playoff series win. So Thursday was great, and then the rest of the draft sucked. But
why did the rest of the draft suck?
Well, the Sixers' best player has a broken face and a concussion.
Fair enough. Okay, all right. We can move on. We're going to be done with this podcast tomorrow.
So. I thought the Sixers' best player got traded to Brooklyn. Ben Simmons, right?
Is that a dunk? I don't even know if that's a dunk or not. That's a dunk.
Pure troll. James Harden scored 4 points in the second half last night, by the way.
Not bad for a heavy set fellow, right?
Yeah, it's pretty not bad. Not bad for a alleged superstar who can.
I have no idea.
I don't know. Look, let's just move on. Commanders, Jahan Dotson.
Hey guys, I got all day. This can be a 3-hour podcast if you want.
I don't have all day. I would happily just hang up right now.
I'm so happy right now. So happy.
And you have like a glint in your eye. You look like somebody who came back from a long weekend and just like you're just happy. Like all I can think about is how long these next 8 weeks are going to be. And then it's like, oh, cool. Football again.
8 weeks. Is that how till the season starts?
I don't know, man.
Oh, okay. I was like, golly, I hope not.
You're still you're muted, Breech. Jahan Dotson, Fedarian Mathis, Brian Robinson Jr., Percy Butler, Sam Howell, Cole Turner, Chris Paul, Christian Holmes. Can't believe they got CP3 that late in the draft.
No, right?
What's your grade there, Wilson?
I had them going 21st in my rankings, but I do like what they did. Jahan Dotson, I had him as a second-round pick, and I know a couple teams liked him in the second round, but I understand why you take him here. They lost out on Drake London, and then 2 other wide receivers went off the board, so they're like, all right, we got to do something. I get it. So I understand that. He's not a huge target, so I do wonder about what that means for Carson Wentz, who it feels like this is it for him. I don't know what you guys think the season's going to look for him, but I love the idea of Sam Howell in the 5th round. I had a team tell me in the fall Sam Howell should return to school, or early after the season that Sam Howell should return to school, and I ended up really liking him. He was my quarterback too by the time we were all said and done, but clearly the NFL disagreed with me. I give them like a B-. Like Brian Robinson, I thought went a little high. I wouldn't have taken him in the 3rd round because they had other options. Damian Pierce and Isaiah Spiller were still there. Tyler Algier, Kyron Williams, those guys I liked a little better. Robinson and Phil Mathis, his teammate at Alabama, are great locker room guys, but I don't know if they're day one impact guys. Phil Mathis is, I think, a replacement for Daron Payne, who's I think he's entering the final year of his deal, so I get that. And again, your locker room's a lot better in terms of attitude and whatnot, but there's not a lot of on the field production that stands out immediately. Jahan Dotson, of course, but Percy Butler, I don't know if he's going to get immediate playing time. Cole Turner, good athlete, but not as athletic as I was hoping. And Sam Howell, over under on when Sam Howell first sees the field. I'll set it at week 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not. I mean, it's not a bad over under.
I'll let Breech go there because I didn't let him talk about the Eagles.
I'll take the over, but I do think it's interesting that we're talking about a Washington team that Carson Wentz might be the 3rd best quarterback. Like literally, when you look
not
at
even a lie,
Taylor Heineke,
he's
Sam
the 7th
Howell,
best quarterback in his own division.
I mean, that is he is not gonna, he cannot be a happy camper right now. If that guy got mad when anybody brings in a quarterback if he plays for your team, and so yeah, I mean, I thought Washington, the Sam Howell pick feels like, I don't want to say save the draft because he might not pan out, but there's no pressure there. If he never plays, it doesn't matter because you took him in the 5th round.
Save the draft.
What's that?
Well, I'm saying that if
who's
you
the home run in that draft class?
You get your starting quarterback of the future in the 5th round.
Why is everybody doing this with this class?
What do you mean?
Like, these guys fell for a reason, man. Like,
well, what's 6?
Right, that's why I'm saying if. I'm saying none of the other Commanders picks really wowed me. So
right,
it's
I think that's fair.
So maybe Sam Howell he has the highest ceiling, but if he doesn't hit it doesn't matter because they took him in the 5th round. If they took him in the 1st round and he doesn't hit it, that's a problem.
I mean, I think it's just not a great draft.
Yeah.
That's what
I just said. I said nobody in this draft.
But do you mean for the entire draft or for Washington, Brinson?
Washington.
Oh, okay. Well, that's exactly what Breech
and the quarterback. Yeah. Maybe it's a Matt Corral thing. We'll get to them in a minute.
Oh God, get off of that. That's a home run. Go ahead.
I will say on Howell, like, I mean, I'm an NC State guy, if you didn't know. And even I started to feel bad for Sam Howell as ESPN kept cutting to his draft party. I'm like, it's like, leave this guy alone.
Where was he? Was he in Charlotte?
At his house. And he's like, had like at one point he's not on the couch anymore. And his girlfriend's like looking over her shoulder, trying to find him in the room somewhere. And there's probably 20 to 25 people in the room. And not one of them is making eye contact with another human being. Like it's just so awkward.
Let me ask you this.
Well,
actually, I know what would happen. I know what happened for Brinson. I know what happened for Breech and Debo. If you thought you were going to be a top 32 pick, Brinson would rent out the hugest play. He would rent out the Dorton Arena and have 15,000 people there, no matter what. Breech and Debo would have a quiet gathering in their house just in case. So how went the Brinson route is what I'm getting.
No, it was like it wasn't like a huge. It was at the parents' house. They just had like friends over from Charlotte. My point was going to be that Howell got screwed because if he was able to come out after his sophomore year, he's probably a 1st-round pick.
Or, as the team told me, after the 2023 season might have been good too.
But that's what I'm saying. Like he should have. somebody told him that it would be in his interest to come into the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And he should have been told, go back to school, play one more year. Like he either should have come out at 20. He should have come out after 21 or 23.
I don't think he could come out
or
after
20 or 22. Well, you might be saying like,
right. Yeah. I don't know if he could have legally done it, but I agree with you. Yes.
no, he could not have. He would have had to sit out the season. I'm just saying like he got kind of screwed by the whole rules. Anyway, yeah, we don't love the Cowboys. You give B- or C+?
No, the Washington I give B- too.
Okay. Cowboys. Tyler Smith, Sam Williams, Jalen Tolbert. Love it. Jake Ferguson, Matt Waletzko, Darren Bland.
Jeez, you got Waletzko. Good job.
Damone Clark. I mean, that's pretty easy. John Ridgway and Devin Harper. Definitely not a Jerry Jones draft.
No.
How much sizzle to this bad boy? What's your grade for it?
I give it a B+. In fact, the pick that I not the
B+?
B as in Breech plus.
Okay.
The pick that I'm not super crazy about was the Tyler Smith pick, but he's only 21, and he had some medical concerns, and Rappaport actually talked about them after the pick. Obviously, the Cowboys didn't care about those. And on a team that was the most penalized team in the NFL, they drafted the most penalized offensive tackle in college football. So that's interesting. But I think he's going to get
just
better.
laugh chuckling because I'm reading Prisco's breakdown. He's like, teams loved him more than analysts.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Because I talked to Prisco about it. He goes, I don't know. I said that I know the teams have medical concerns about him. Sam Williams on the field is absolutely fantastic. Off the field, there's some issues. Jalen Tolbert occasionally dropped the ball, but he's a really good football player who reminds me a lot of Will Fuller. Jake Ferguson was my tight end 3. Deron Bland is a really fun cornerback out of Fresno. He's pretty big. Ridgway and Harper's he's like a traits guy, day 3 traits guy. Wasn't the best linebacker on that team. It was Malcolm Rodriguez, and John Ridgway transferred from Illinois State and is a really good sort of interior defensive lineman. He's not going to get a bunch of sacks, but he does a lot of the dirty work that allows the guys behind him to clean up. So this is actually a really good draft. You're right. It's not a Jerry Jones draft. Didn't involve any Johnny Manziel type rumors. And I thought that was pretty straight-laced. Tyler Smith wasn't my guy there, but who knows? He might end up being a great football player.
Yeah, it didn't feel like they did anything flashy. It was, let's just, you go in the trenches your first 2 rounds. You get a receiver in the 3rd round because you have Michael Gallup coming off his ACL surgery, and you need some depth there. It just felt like the Cowboys looked at all the boxes they need to check. They checked them, and they didn't get too far off. I know, Wilson, you said you didn't like the Tyler Smith pick, but it felt like they tried to stick to guys who were – they didn't reach too far for any player. So, yeah, I mean, this is a draft. I don't love it. I don't hate it, but it's better than what the Commanders did. So,
Yikes.
If you're the Cowboys, you're happy about that.
All right.
Brinson's so done.
I really, I am. I need to wake off.
I love it.
The Detroit Lions disappointingly took Aiden Hutchinson number 2.
Why? Who were you looking for?
I wanted Thibodeau.
Yeah. Let me ask you before you get going. Did you plus or minus the NFL draft prop bets?
Plus.
Was that because of Derek Stingley, perhaps?
Derek Stingley 3 and Trayvon Walker 1.
By the way, any shout out for me getting a couple picks right, by the way?
Yeah, no, Stingley. Okay, sorry. Well, yeah, you're right. You weren't here for the AFC. Stingley 3rd overall. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. You did tell me that he was going to go 3rd overall. That you were told that, and he did go 3rd overall. I
was shocked. I'll be honest with you. I was sweating that one out.
If Tibbs had gone 2, it would have been a
Mac Jones like payout.
Yeah, but not.
You would have quit the podcast.
No, not that good. Would have been as good as last year, but it would have been good. Yeah. Trayvon. Hey, how about some Trayvon Walker love?
Yeah, I was gonna say, me and you outdid Prisco on the breaking news.
He's like, I got 28 of 32 picks correct in terms of players in the first round. It's like, bro, you didn't even get the first pick overall, and you work for that team. Like you do the Jaguars radio show, and you got the pick wrong. Like, what
in his defense, he goes on that radio show. They pay him to talk crap about Urban Meyer.
It's like if you this is sort of like 2019, I guess, where if you thought the Cardinal if you thought the Cardinals were going to take Nick Bosa instead of Kyler Murray, and you did that in your mock draft, like basically the cascading effect, you're not going to get it. Your picks are going to be terrible.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So you can get 32 or 32, and your score still going to be good because you have Trayvon Walker going 3. It messes the whole thing up.
He had a good weekend. I'll give him that. Pete did, but right, he missed the first one.
Jameson Williams, they trade up for. Gave up a lot. I actually just saw. Oh crap! What did I see?
They had a ton of picks. I'm fine with that.
I saw somebody say that during the draft, I think that the Lions actually offered. I can't find it. That the Lions offered maybe 2 firsts for Deebo Samuel. It's kind of crazy. Josh Pascal, Kirby Joseph with an E, James Mitchell, Malcolm Rodriguez, James Houston, and Chase Lucas. What do you think about the Lions draft, Wilson?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. I don't care about the compensation it costs for moving up for Jameson Williams. They love them. They moved up for him, and it left Washington sitting there having to settle, quote unquote, for Jahan Dotson. And Jahan Dotson is probably going to be a really good football player, but my point is that Jameson Williams is absolutely electric. So I had them ranked 5th in terms of my rankings where I thought these players would go and where they actually end up going. So that's good for them. Let's see. Where are the players again? Give me a second. There we go. So Aiden Hutchinson, layup. Didn't make Brinson happy, but I get it. Jameson Williams could have gone higher than that. He went behind Drake London and Chris Olave. Chris Olave may have gone early. He went at 11. Yeah, Olave was a little bit of a reach for me, but I get it. Josh Pascal, I absolutely love. 6'2.5", 268. Ran a 4.77. Absolutely explosive. Kirby Joseph was one of my favorite safeties in this class. I mentioned Malcolm Rodriguez in the last when we talked about the last team, and James Houston's a Power 5 transfer who has a little juice, as they say, off the edge. This was a really good draft. This team is better now than they were before. Got some help for Jared Goff, who, let's be honest, was probably the best wide receiver in this draft. That's why they didn't worry about getting one. And then they got 2 edge rushers, a safety, a linebacker, actually 3 edge rushers when you include James Houston. So I'll give this an A-, Debo.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing about their draft is that they absolutely fleeced the Vikings in that trade. You're moving up from 32 to 12, 20 spots, and you're basically
with
giving
a division rival.
Yeah,
It's
division
just
rival.
Knowing that the Eagles were attempting to move up to get Jameson Williams as well.
Oh, that's that we know that now.
I was told that.
Okay, I didn't see it, but I was.
Debo, did you hear that?
You said it we kind of broke down the timing of everything the other night.
Yeah, he was
yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. I just didn't. Okay. I was, incapacitated during the draft. I didn't have access to a lot of information.
Well, they moved up 20 spots in the first round, and to do that, all they had to do was drop back 12 spots in the second round and throw in the 66th overall pick, and that just seems like
exactly
an absolute steal. And
why would you do that with a division rival if you're the Vikings?
But it seems like division rivals are trading more and more with each other. Last year it was.
But you don't let them come up at a distance.
Well, here's the thing: is that like if you're the Vikings and somebody makes you a great trade offer, you're going to take it whether it's a division rival or not.
Sure.
But if you're getting fleeced, it doesn't make any sense at all. Like in that sense, like the Lions are going to make this trade 100 out of 100 times, whether it's with a division rival.
But Breech, you don't think it's not Saints level getting fleeced? Would you agree with that?
I mean, the Saints, what they did was dumber because they had time to think about it. If we're talking about the trade they made before the draft, and then they set up nothing and then did nothing in the draft, which we'll get to the Saints grade. But I don't know and maybe the Vikings, because they were on the clock, they're like, man, we got to do something, and the time and the pressure got to them and said, let's just pull the trigger. We don't have any better offers. But just because of that, I thought the Lions hit home runs with the first 2 picks.
The Vikings hit 46 back.
What are you talking about?
Right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying the Lions.
I mean, they sent 12 and 46 for 32, 34, and 66.
Right. That's what Breech is saying.
I know, but I mean, why are you sending that second round pick back?
Right. If that second round pick's not involved, then it's probably fine. Right. Maybe the Vikings win, but they both get a first round pick in the trade. They both get a second round pick in the trade, and the Lions gave up their third round pick. Like, it's just unbelievable. So yeah, I like everything Wilson said about the draft and the fact they came out with Aiden Hutchinson. I thought Jameson Williams was the best receiver in the draft. So get him at 12th overall, and a trade where you fleece the Vikings makes Lions look good.
And we got the bonus moment that should have gone more viral, where they the Lions trade up. They trade up to 12, and they were like, oh my God, it's got to be for a quarterback. They cut to Malik Willis and they cut to Kenny Pickett.
And
Kenny Pickett's fiance has this, oh my God, I'm about to have to live in Detroit for the rest of my life look on her face. And then they like you can tell that whole Pickett, like everybody at the Pickett table is like, no, please, no.
I didn't even think there was going to be a quarterback there. Did you guys think that in real time? Because we didn't have access to the telecast because we were sort of.
I mean, they'd been tied with Malik Willis so much it felt like they'd taken Hutchinson, then they were coming back up because they knew somebody was about to jump on.
My thought was if they were drafting the quarterback, it was the dumbest trade up of all time. So I was actually like, there was no quarterback worth trading up 20 spots for.
Right. And in fact, right. It's a rare occasion where trading up for a wide receiver made much more sense.
And then they would have looked dumb because all the quarterbacks except for Pickett would have been available at 32. And then you get laughed out of that would have been like, well, that's why the Lions are the Lions. So it actually worked out in their favor. They did not take quarterback.
Well, and I think too, when you sort of look at what happened with that wide receiver run, obviously you had London go 8, Wilson 10, Olave 11.
Just feels like a reach, and that's why Washington had to not reach, but that's why they went
exactly
where they.
Well, I think there's very clearly a drop off, like after JMO, it's like Dotson,
because Traylon Burks actually went later. I like Traylon Burks better than Jahan.
He's sort of different than
he's different. That's right.
Yeah. And that was sort of the beef people have with the Packers too. It's like
But here's the thing, and
let's keep moving because the Packers are actually
okay. We'll talk about it. Two
Vikings and the Packers.
We mentioned the Vikings. They traded down a bunch of times. They stopped at 32 and grabbed Lewis Seen, then picked up Andrew Booth, the Clemson corner who fell because of injury concerns, Ed Ingram, Brian Asamoah,
sure,
Caleb Evans. What are they trying to do to me here? Easy Vidarian Lowe, Jalen Naylor, Nick Muse. Not an easy class.
Nick Muse, Tanner Muse's brother, by the way.
There you go. You got to factor in the thought that. Oh, Molly P asked a good question. Do you think Minnesota thought that the Lions were coming up for a quarterback, and then they took a wide receiver? I think typically, in fact, I would almost actually say it's the opposite in that.
I feel like that's a good line of thinking. What do you think?
Well, I think that when you do those trades like that, there is some disclosure between the GMs about what you're.
I don't know though. I don't
Not always.
Because I don't know if that Haloti Nada thing back in the day, 2006, when they swapped places, and I think the Giants took the edge rusher out of BC. What's his name? Do you remember his name? The guy who sort of fake tackled Vince Young because you weren't allowed to tackle quarterbacks in. I can't remember off the top of my head. But I don't know if they said out loud, this is for Haloti Nada. I think they had a sense. Oh, no, Cameron Wembley was the guy. It was with the Browns. Yeah. So it was Cameron Wembley. I don't know if the Browns and the Ravens talked about it.
Cameron Wembley, BC?
No, I was thinking about another player who the Giants drafted, the edge rusher out of BC. I can't remember his name right now. But I think it was that same draft. But Cameron Willoughby, another interdivisional trade, by the way. So I'm not sure. That's just what popped into my head. But you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I think Wembley was Florida State. I think that I just think that a lot of time, there's people. I think there's some disclosure when
Matthias Kiwanuka. That's what I was
thinking. There you go. When I think of the 2006 draft, I think Mario Williams, Manny Lawson, John McCargo, 3 NC State players in the first round. No big deal.
NC State wins 0 championships.
Yep, that's right. I feel like there's not like they're like, hey, we want to come up and get Jameson Williams, but I don't know.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know if the Vikings, because my thing is, if I'm the Vikings and I think the Lions are coming to get a quarterback,
you don't care.
I'm a little hesitant to let them do that unless I just hate the quarterback class.
Right. I think that's the math. And the new regime, they're pretty analytic. Right. So they may have been like, yeah, go crazy. And it may be the case to go crazy for whoever you want, because anyone you come to get, we don't have going that high. And whatever the compensation is, despite the fact that we disagree with it, they were okay with.
The Green Bay Packers did not draft
I didn't give a grade, by the way.
It's Breech that does the Packers.
The Vikings, I didn't give a grade.
Oh, we'll give a grade.
Who's your grade?
C+.
Yeah.
I like the first 2 picks, and then
basically an F from Wilson.
No, not an F. I like the first 2 picks. After that, I had some questions about where the players went. Brian Asamoah, by the way, was the captain of Pete Prisco's Better Than team. I had him going in the 4th round. He went a little earlier than that, but I love Lewis Steen, love Andrew Booth.
The Packers took Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, trolling Aaron Rodgers, but he said he didn't care. Then they come back and get Christian Watson, the wide receiver, in the 2nd down. Sean Ryan, Romeo Dubs, Zach Tom, Kingsley, Inegbar, Tariq Carpenter, Jonathan Ford, Rasheed Walker, and Samori Toure. Breech,
Nice.
what's your grade for these guys?
My grade for the Packers is a B+. Look, I think Aaron Rodgers was legitimately not happy, but content that the Packers did not use a receiver, because it felt like watching him on the Pat McAfee show and watching his body language, it really felt like the front office kept him in the loop. He watched how the draft broke down. Packers get up there at the 22nd overall pick, and you already have 6 receivers off the board. You can't take the 7th receiver. And like you guys already talked about, there were tiers, and you can't have, it's a total reach if you take the 7th receiver off the board at 22nd overall. It wouldn't have made sense. And so I do like that they ended up passing on receivers at that point. Now, that being said, the one thing I thought they could have done, look, if you're going to package your 2 second-round picks to move up to 34 to get Christian Watson, you could have packaged those 2 second-round picks with your 22nd overall pick to move up to get one of the top receivers in the class. And so it's just interesting that they trade away 2 second-round picks that ended up moving up to 34 to get Watson. But I like Quay Walker, and I like Devontae White. I actually wanted Devontae White. I wanted the Bengals to get him at 31. And so when the Packers grabbed him at 28, I was a little disappointed. So I think they crushed it with the first 2 players, even though they didn't get a receiver. And then the jury's still out on all these guys, but especially Christian Watson. But you know what? We've talked about this before. The Packers have such a good track record with second-round receivers. For whatever reason, they just hit home run after home run after home run, whether it's Jordy Nelson, whether it's Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb. They are just
Greg Jennings
with these second-round receivers. So it's hard to hate that. So I didn't love that they traded up that far to get Christian Watson, whether they could have sat still or not traded up that far and still had plenty of receivers to choose from. So that is why they didn't get to the A range for me, but B+.
Yeah, they were my they ranked 7th in terms of the rankings of where I had these guys going, where they actually went. And I'm with you on the Christian Watson. Quay Walker got a lot of late push as a first rounder. Devontae Wyatt's really good, as you noted. Then they got Romeo Doubs as well, who played with Carson Strong in Nevada. And Rasheed Walker actually is one of my favorite picks. He ended up going in the 7th round. I talked to teams that liked him late on day 2, early day 3, but some inconsistency there. But if you can get it sorted out, he's a good football player. This draft feels a lot better than previous drafts where Aaron Rodgers has poured himself what do you say, 3 fingers or whatever to sort of deal with the drafting of Jordan Love and all the other.
It seemed like he knew he was more involved with their plan than in previous years. And
well, he must have made some phone calls late in the first round and said, where are the freaking wide receivers? And that's why they traded up, because until then they were just sort of sitting pat.
Fair. All right. Finally, in the NFC North, the Bears. And look, again, the Packers, I think, we talked about this on yesterday's show, the AFC draft show, but, it's easy to take a team that has multiple first-round picks and be like, I really like their draft. And then, all these teams who didn't have a first-round pick, you're like, this draft sucks. But I think the Packers in a vacuum, if you didn't say, they lost Devontae Adams, you'd look at this and be like, man, they really made their team better. It's just,
yeah, no, I think that's fair.
Yeah. The Bears, Kyler Gordon, first pick for them in the 3rd round, actually. 39th.
No, Kyler Gordon went
second round.
Early second, yeah.
Yeah. All right. They only traded their first for Justin Fields. And they got a second from the Chargers for Khalil Mack. So they had Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker, Velus Jones Jr., Braxton Jones, Dominique Robinson, Zachary Thomas, Tristan Ebner, Doug Kramer, Jatire Carter, Elijah Hicks, and NC State punting legend Trenton Gill, baby. Rich, what's your grade?
Yeah, you know what? I had you guys can see what I had written down here. It was a C+, but just looking it over again, I'm gonna up them to a B-. It is, I have seen a lot of hate about the Bears draft. I think Prisco might have given it a D, and that was the only D he gave out in his grades. But I don't know I don't hate it as much as everyone else. I feel like Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Brisker are both guys who will probably be starters in that secondary right away. So you got 2 starters with your first 2 picks, even though you didn't have a first-round pick. And then Brinson's boys, Trenton Gill, with the 255th overall pick. That is almost the bottom of the draft, and he's probably going to be a starter. I mean, if
he's a punter. If you're if he's playing a lot, that means you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, but you got a starter with your 7th round pick, 7 spots from the bottom of the draft. That's how you have to look at it, Wilson. I don't care if
using that logic, you should draft the punter in the first round because he'll be a starter.
No, using that logic, teams should draft punters and kickers with the 6th or 7th round.
Well, let me ask you this
because there's value because they will become starters.
Where are the wide receivers for Justin Fields? Because that's a concern.
Yes, and that is why they drafted Jones in the 3rd round.
He was 25 years old. He was 25 years old.
And also why I'm giving them a B- and not an A+ here. It's not like I'm saying they had an amazing draft. I'm saying consider they have any first-round picks. They picked up 2 defensive starters, a punter. Does Justin Fields need weapons? Obviously, and that is why it's a B- and not an A+.
Yeah, the first 2, Gordon and Brisker, are awesome. They're going to be day 1 starters, I feel like. Velus Jones, 25. Played okay during the season in Tennessee, balled out at the Senior Bowl. I don't know if he's going to be an impact guy. Maybe he will. I hope he will be. But I do appreciate that they got 3 offensive linemen here, and they're all good players. I don't know how much they'll contribute right away for various reasons. And Dominic Robinson out of Miami of Ohio, home of John Breech, by the way.
Yes,
college home of John Breech. A little undersized, but a good football player.
Do you think that's why maybe I up my grade also?
And you didn't even mention it, which is even more impressive.
He was the first Miami of Ohio player taken off the board, Wilson. I didn't want to spend this whole turn this podcast into a Miami of Ohio podcast, which is
all right. Coming up next, we're going to take a look at the NFC South coming up after the break. Next,
so done. He's so done.
The Atlanta Falcons drafted Drake London. I was wrong. They did not take Jordan Davis. Should have.
When'd you say that?
That was his bold prediction.
That was my bold prediction.
Oh, gotcha.
And I had it in my mock. And when I floated it to someone who, like, have a clue what the Falcons were thinking about, they didn't.
Matt Tabik disagree with you?
They didn't say that's a great choice. But they got Drake London, and I think that is a great choice. Arnold Ebiketie.
Close. Ebiketie. Nice. Well done.
I got it before the draft. Troy Anderson, Desmond Ridder in the 3rd round, 74th overall, excuse me. D'Angelo Malone, Tyler Algier, Justin Schaefer, and John Fitzpatrick with a capital P.
I love that part.
What's your grade for these guys, Breech?
My grade is a B+. We talked about the Commanders getting Sam Howell in the 5th round, how that's going to make or break their draft. Well, the Falcons also got a pretty good deal on a quarterback because Desmond Ridder fell to them in the 3rd round, but that doesn't make or break their draft because they also got 2 guys who could contribute right away, which Commanders didn't do. Drake London, I think, could be a force for the Falcons. You don't have Calvin Ridley for the upcoming season. Obviously, you had gotten rid of Julio Jones. You need to get a playmaker in there so that it's not just Cordero Patterson touching the ball on every down. And so I like the Drake London pick. I think that pick really depends about how you felt about the wide receiver class. If you feel like he's the 3rd best receiver and they took him at 8th overall, then it was a total reach. I thought he was probably the 2nd best receiver, so maybe a tad bit of a reach. I thought Jameson Williams was the top. And then Ebiketie, I thought that was a great pick. Wilson can speak more to that, but it felt like he was somebody who might have been taken at the bottom of the 1st round. So the fact that he was still available at 38th overall and the Falcons needed all the pass rushing help they can get. So those 2 guys and Desmond Ridder, I felt like really made the draft for me. So maybe if you could talk me down to a B, but I'm going to give him a B+.
No, that's pretty good. I think I had them 12th in my rankings in terms of where I thought these guys would go and where they actually ended up going. Des Ridder, I had him going middle 3rd round. That's exactly where he went. I think it's a great situation for him. He's basically Marcus Mariota, which is who I comped him to. Drake London had a team compare him to a bigger version of Devontae Adams, so I don't think 8th is too high at all. Ebiketie, middle 2nd round, that's where he went. I know that there was some sort of media buzz that he might go in the 1st, but teams I spoke to like him in the 2nd. And then I'll mention Tyler Algier from BYU. He reminds me of James Conner. I think this is as close to a Steelers you're going to get, and some offensive talent to help that offense that doesn't have a lot of talent right now. And Drake London basically feels like a different version of Kyle Pitts. They just play different positions, but they're big, huge targets down the field. The tight end actually runs a little better than the wide receiver, which is sort of funny. But Drake London, I think, is going to be a better version of Michael Pittman, who he played with at USC.
I like the Falcons draft a lot. I thought they were one of the bigger winners. I mean, Ebiketie is Chaps noted his grade. Just not prototypical size. And Ridder, I know Rip. They didn't have to trade anything to go get Ridder. He sort of fell in their laps.
He's a
There's no
third round pick. The accuracy is the issue. Everything else you absolutely love about him. If he can fix that, and Arthur Smith is known for fixing that, then you got yourself a player. But to take him, at 20th overall or whatever, that was a reach. This feels about right.
Yeah, there's just no pressure to play. Like if he doesn't,
right.
And again, I know I'm sort of contradicting myself here because I ripped the Matt Corral thing, but they traded a future third to go get him. The Falcons
not to get too far down the road. Why do you hate Matt Corral so much?
I like Matt Corral, the player.
Oh, my QB1.
I don't like trading a future third when you're the Carolina Panthers and your team isn't that good. Although I saw, and I'm not. No, we'll get to the Panthers in a second. I'm not doing this again. No, I thought that like
you're the Batman?
How dare you, sir? Try and troll me. Re-signed Grady Jarrett, as well on Tuesday to a big extension. I like the Falcons draft. I thought it wasn't like out. It wasn't, they didn't get too crazy. I think they know where they are in the rebuild. I think the fact that they pursued Deshaun Watson and missed out on him, however awkward it made it with Matt Ryan, ultimately probably put them in a better spot than they would have been otherwise, because they were able to sort of look in the mirror and say, you know what? It is time to rebuild. We're not going to have our cake and eat it too. We need to reboot. And they did that. And, Ritter gives him like a shot. Maybe he works in that system. Maybe Mariota plays well, but I think Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and then maybe Calvin Ridley next year. What if Ritter's a player? Something. You can always get back into their quarterback if you need to. The Saints drafted Chris Olave, who I think technically they gave up 5. They used 5 picks to get him.
That's the thing.
Yeah. Trevor Penning, Alante Taylor, DeMarco Jackson, and Jordan Jackson. Breech, what's your grade?
My grade is a B-. Maybe almost in the C. Here's the thing about the Saints. All right. I actually like their 2 first-round picks, Chris Olave and Trevor Penning. I both needs
in a vacuum, yes.
In a vacuum, yes. If we are just talking about the vacuum that I use to clean the carpet in my office, yes. Or a space vacuum, whichever vacuum that we're in. So the problem is what Brinson mentioned is what the Saints paid to trade up to get. They didn't just trade up to get him. They had to trade with the Eagles to get a second first-round pick. And then they had to make another trade with the Commanders to move up from 16 to 11. And that is just way too much compensation to give up to get Chris Olave, or however you want to finagle this first round. So just too much. So that's really what it comes down to for me. That's why they get the B-. But look, they only had 5 picks, 6 picks. They had 5 picks. I liked almost all of them, but just you're crushing yourself in future drafts with everything you gave up. I mean, they don't have a first-round pick next year. They don't have. I think they gave up multiple.
Olave has to be
a legend. He has to be Michael Thomas Part 2.
Also a second-round pick, but that's exactly right. I agree.
I mean, I think he's got to be more than that.
No, if you're Michael Thomas, Michael Thomas is.
All right, if he turns into Michael Thomas, then yeah, that's fine. But
not right now, Michael Thomas. 2 years ago, Michael Thomas.
But he's
also like not Michael Thomas. He's a speed. He's speedy.
He's not physical. He's a little. He needs to get stronger. Struggles getting off line of scrimmage at times.
I mean, I don't know who he has to be, but he's got to be very, very, very productive for the Saints for this to pay off.
Yeah, he was my wide receiver 5. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but just in terms of going into the draft process, I had them ranked 13th in terms of the rankings. But as Breech notes, that's in a vacuum because you checked boxes, but at what cost? So, Trevor Penning, can he play left tackle? He's an FCS guy who was okay against Iowa State early in the season, and he was okay at the Senior Bowl, but he wasn't lights out. And the other 2 guys in the 5th round and the 6th round, DeMarco Jackson and Jordan Jackson, they're not necessarily developmental guys, but they're guys that are raw and need to grow into those roles. So 5 picks, you hope to get 2 or 3 starters out of it. Alante Taylor's a good player, but the cost is what gets your attention.
Agreed completely. All right. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafted Logan Hall, Luke Gadecki, Rashad White, Cade Otton, Jake Camarda, Zion McCullum, Co Kieft, and Andre Anthony. What's your grade for the Buccos? Breech?
My grade for the Buccos is a B because Tom Brady's last name starts with a B, and I don't want to offend Tom Brady. Do you guys know, fun fact, Logan Hall was not even born when Tom Brady got drafted. Tom Brady literally has a teammate who was not born the day he got drafted.
Who is
that unbelievable? But look, I thought Logan Hall, this was a home run for them because you don't have Ndamukong Suh under contract yet. Your defensive line, you still have a few holes there. And this is a guy that could have gone late in the first round, falls to your lap with the first pick of the second round. I'm sure the Buccaneers love that he was there. Gadecki, look, the Buccaneers lost 2 starting guards during the offseason. They had 1 retire. They had 1 signed with the Cincinnati Bengals. So you need offensive linemen, and you get 1 with the 57th overall pick. And you know what? I don't even dislike is it Rashad White?
Rashad White, yeah.
Rashad White. Get all the running backs you can. You get them. You're not spending your picks in the first or second round. Give Tom Brady some weapons, and it feels like they did that with White and Cade Otton. And you know what? The only pick really they made out of their first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I didn't like was Jake Camarda. I thought he was at best the 5th best punter in the draft. I don't know what the Buccaneers are doing on special teams. It's like they don't even have a special teams coach because whoever's in charge of letting Jason Light know who they should draft as a punter or kicker isn't doing their job. We already saw the Roberto Aguayo disaster. And Camarda, you could have had Ariza at that point. You did not. So maybe Camarda pans out, but didn't love that pick. So yeah, B.
The funny thing is they finished 32 in my comparison rankings. And not because of Logan Hall, who I had going exactly where they drafted him, not because of Luke Gedeke, who I had going slightly above where they drafted him, but because of Rashad White, who I thought was more of a 5th round pick. He's on the ground a lot, and he's sort of a converted wide receiver, so there's an issue there. Heck, Cade Otton go exactly where they drafted him, but to your point, Breech, because of Jake Camarda, I had him as an undrafted free agent, and he went to the bottom of the 4th, and that's a huge leap when there were tons of talent there that they could have had.
Hey, fun fact.
Yeah.
Cade Otton was coached in high school by his grandfather, who officiated
Is his name Cotton?
Molly P's wedding.
Oh, I was hoping his name was going to be. I hope his name was going to be Cotton Otton, which would have been awesome.
I was waiting for you to be like, you know what? Cade Otton comes from a long line of horrible people.
That is a great fun fact. Thanks, Molly P.
Yeah, that's great.
Now we'll get the inside info whenever Cade Otton signs his next contract.
Yeah, so the only issue for me was Rashad White a little too early, and then the taking Camarda, a punter, at the end of the 4th. What was the kicker's name that they drafted, Breech?
Roberto Aguayo.
Yeah.
And did they take the Florida State kicker back 20 years ago?
Roberto Aguayo, bro.
Did they take the Florida State kicker?
2016, and they traded up to get him.
Who was the other Florida State, the original Florida State kicker who was supposed to be a can't miss prospect? I don't know if the Bucs took him or not. No.
Grammatica.
It wasn't
Right?
Grammatica. It was, I can't remember. It was like I had to look it up.
All right. We're on to the Panthers. This is ridiculous.
No, give me 10 minutes. I'll find it.
There's a couple.
You won't find me in 10 minutes.
I think Dustin Hopkins is the only other.
No.
It was before that breach. I think he was.
Well, it's the only other Florida State kicker who's been drafted since 2000.
No. What
I just hit everybody.
I'm not dunking on. I'm just letting him know that.
No. I matched every sound I had just to get ready to shut up. Panthers draft Ike Ekwonu in the 1st round, then had no 2nd round pick, had no 3rd round pick, but somehow found one by trading from 137 to 94 to take Matt Corral, Brandon Smith, Amari Barno, Cade Mays, and Kalen Barnes. Breech, what's your grade? And Wilson, feel free to follow up by explaining to me that I'm an idiot for suggesting that what they paid for Matt Corral was foolish.
I mean, the great irony here is not only did Brinson go on a rant in the most hated YouTube video of all time, but also that I'm not even in charge of giving out this grade because Brinson is in charge of giving out this grade, according to the rundown that Debo emailed me this morning.
Yeah, that's right. I have the rundown in front of me, and I gave him I gave him a B-. And I think if they had not moved, so they had no 2nd and 3rd round pick. They gave number 70 overall away to the Jacksonville Jaguars for C.J. Henderson last year during the season. One could argue that was foolish. They then had to trade next year's 3rd round pick to move from 137 to 94 to draft Matt Corral. So they used number 94 and number 7 and a future 3rd, plus the other pick they traded. They basically used like the equivalent of like the 50th pick overall to take Matt Corral. And I just feel like I think what happened was Scott Fitter was like, man, we sort of dodged some bullets. Like, we might get somebody we like here. He's going to fall down the board a little bit. And then David Tepper saw Desmond Ridder and Malik Willis get drafted, and he said, go get me that other quarterback. And they traded up and overpaid for him. And that's why I don't like this draft. Otherwise, I thought it was a pretty good draft. I saw in 2 places today, or at least Joe Person wrote about this, that the Panthers roster doesn't have a ton of holes to it. And I saw Kyle Bailey of WFNZ quote tweet it and say, yes, you can say what you want about the quarterback, but I love Joe and Kyle, both great guys. And Kyle's like, yeah, but the roster is really good. I don't think it is.
Slow your roll. That's the kids say.
Yeah. I mean, if we're looking at, I have had, obviously gotten some pushback from the Panthers on my questioning their roster. I think the offensive line is much, 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 much better than it was several months ago and certainly a year ago. McCaffrey at running back is very good.
When he's
I
happy.
don't know if I would say that the wide receivers are loaded. They have a good defensive line and some nice linebackers, and the secondary has some interesting pieces, but I would just push back that there are not holes in the roster.
But if you're a Panthers fan, you're thinking, you know what? Since Rule's taken over, 14 of our 25 losses have been by 1 score. So it seems like we're in these games. We just don't close them out for whatever reason.
How many years?
Perhaps because of terrible coaching.
And that could be it. Maybe
It's
Rule's
been
the
3 years.
problem.
You mentioned 3 years. You mentioned 25 losses. You said.
Well, no, I said that's only 2 years, Brinson. That's only 2 years.
You can stop there.
Is
There's
that
nowhere
right?
to
He's
go.
only been there 2 years.
Our
Yeah,
14
like
to
2 years.
23, 14 to 23 losses.
So he's
have
lost
been by
23
1
games in 2 years.
And
So let me
14
ask you this,
games by 1
Brinson.
score.
Despite what it costs to give up Matt Corral at
I like Matt Corral as a player.
30th pick in the 3rd round. What if he starts midway through the season and over the second half of the season they win half their football games? Where are you?
I will move to Jamaica rather than be dunked on repeatedly by everyone.
No. I mean, think of 4-4. Are you okay with the trade or whatever the second half of the season brings them? 4-4, 4-5.
If sure.
Okay. I loved Icky, and I think the thing about Icky is that meant that you didn't overdraft a quarterback. I like Matt Corral at the bottom of the 3rd. I don't even know if you'd have to trade to get him. Maybe you did. Brandon Smith, and Amari Barna, the next 2 picks are traitsy guys that didn't produce consistently at the next in college. So you're sort of projecting. I get it. That's when you take these guys. So that said, they were my number one team in terms of rankings. So
The Panthers?
well, a big part of that was Icky, and a big part of that was Matt Corral.
Oh, you had Icky first or something?
Icky going high, but then Matt Corral had as going 28th or something.
Oh,
So
okay.
that worked out. And then where those players were drafted that I mentioned, they weren't even necessarily reaches. They were just guys that you're sort of hoping that the traits translate in the NFL. So they didn't reach for anyone. But again, this doesn't account for trades that got you all fired up.
I'm trying to find this video to see how many.
I think I just made up that Florida State kicker, by the way. I can't find him. So,
Yeah, I think you did too.
yeah, that's crazy.
You're like, yeah, Roberto Aguayo.
That's before, it's like years before that. Whatever.
I was trying to think of anyone you could even be talking about. I even went back to look stuff up, and I don't see anything that
I know. If you can't find it, it doesn't exist. So I was clear. That was part of the other simulation I was a part of.
You got so many draft names. I was like, maybe it's South Florida. Maybe it's just Florida.
Anywho. The NFC West is our final division. We're going to see if we can knock it out in 3 minutes. The Seahawks, as Wilson goes to pee because he's had too much tequila.
These guys drinking water, coffee, and tequila, and not mixed together, all in different cups.
Hard to believe he's got to pee. The Seattle Seahawks drafted Charles Cross, Boye Mafe, Kenneth Walker, Abraham Lucas, Kobe Bryant, Tariq Woolen, Tyreek Smith, Bo Melton, and Derek Young. I gave them a B, and I was contemplating going with a B plus because of the first 2 picks. Don't love going with a running back there where they took Kenneth Walker, but he is a really good player. They do want to run the ball a ton. I kind of want to move him up to a B plus too because they threw it in Drew Lock's face, or threw it in Baker Mayfield's face. Like, no, we're not trading for you. Thanks. Don't need you. Don't want you. Like kind of intriguing, but What do you think? What do you think, Breech? Seahawks? It didn't blow me away. It's just I don't know what their plan is.
It just felt like the Seahawks had a typical Seahawks draft where everyone's like, I bet they're going to be one of the first teams to take a running back. Boom. Typical Seahawks taking 41st overall. Everyone thought they were going to take a quarterback with one of those 2 second-round picks. They didn't, and didn't even take a quarterback at all. And you made your point with Baker Mayfield that they're literally thinking, hey, we're just going to go in the season with Drew Lock and Geno Smith, and we're fine with that, even though we had so many opportunities to take a quarterback here. But for the guys they did take, I didn't hate it. I mean, Charles Cross should be a huge addition to that offensive line. You mentioned Boyd Mafe. That helps. You can, I think they have like 3 running backs who have contracts expiring after the 2022 season, which explains why they went after Kenneth Walker. Kobe Bryant, someone for the Cincinnati Bearcats who didn't get as much love as Sauce Gardner, but played on the opposite side of him. I thought that was a great pick. So, yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head with giving them a B. It was a good draft, but not a great draft.
Yeah, the thing for me is the Ken Walker. I love Ken Walker. I use my running back run.
Yeah, that is exactly what I said. It's like just a little higher than you'd like to draft.
Yeah, what are you doing? Boye Mafe played in 2-point stance primarily at Minnesota. Once he figures out what he's doing, he's going to be really good. Abe Lucas, I know teams liked him a lot better than some draft media folks. He went the 3rd round. I get that. And Tariq Woolen, I absolutely loved. I had him going late 2nd round. He's a converted wide receiver. He's like 6'3", ran in the 4.2s, great ball skills because he is a receiver, insanely athletic. And I think he feels like a Seattle Seahawks cornerback. And I think I had, the Seahawks were 4th on my Wilson rankings, my wins over Wilson. So they actually had a good draft, which again, didn't account for why are you taking a running back at 9th overall in the 2nd round when you have other needs. But Ken Walker's a good player. I get it.
The 49ers drafted Drake Jackson, Tyrion Davis-Price, Danny Gray, Spencer Buford, Samuel Womack, Nick Kajiko.
Zakel.
That makes more sense. Kalia Davis, Tariq Castro Fields, and Brock Purdy is Mr. Irrelevant. I gave a C-. I mean, look, like, just didn't. They didn't have a 1st-round pick because they traded for Trey Lance. They were picking late in the first place. I love the Niners. You guys know I do, but I just was looking at the draft. I just don't love it.
Would you say C-?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Drake Jackson, I liked him as I had him going at the end of the 2nd round, pretty much where he went, but only because I talked to a team that said he's going to get drafted high. I thought he was like an early 4th round guy just because he didn't show up a lot. But as was pointed out to me by a scout, like he can play 260, he can play 275, and it's the size that teams love about him. Tyrion Davis-Price, I thought he was probably not going to get drafted, and he went at the end of the 3rd. But when you read the scouting report on him, I was went back looking at my notes. He basically fits exactly what Kyle Shanahan wants in a running back. So I get that part of it. Danny Gray ran in the 4.3s. He's electric. I love this pick. Going right around this range. He's only 5'11", but he was one of the best contested catch guys in college football last year. And finally, I mentioned Kalia Davis. He was tackle UCF, excuse me. Towards ACL last November. He's only played in 5 games the last 2 years, but he is a monster on the inside. And if he stays healthy, that's a great pick. But I don't disagree with what you said based on watching these guys and the things that I saw. I don't know if Danny Gray's a Deebo Samuel replacement. I don't think he is because it feels like Deebo's probably coming back. We talked earlier about
and then they drafted Trey Sermon with the 3rd round pick. So now these burn I don't know, it just doesn't feel like
Kyle Shanahan falls in love with these guys. Like that fits exactly what I want, even though conventional wisdom says otherwise.
And it does feel like that they made this the Deebo Samuel draft. They were like, well, let's draft a running back in the 3rd round, and that way Deebo will believe me when I tell him he won't be getting a bunch of carries next season. We'll try to make him a feature receiver. And then, you know what? Let's draft a receiver just in case Deebo does leave. That way we have 2 people who can try and fill his shoes. And it just seems like the 49ers line of thinking, everything about this draft was a little weird for them. So it didn't feel like out of the teams in the NFC West, they probably had the weakest draft.
So,
but I think
all right, we're almost to Arizona to time.
Arizona Cardinals. You're like, oh wow, they didn't really get a.
Hold on, let me ask quickly though: has the Trey Lance deal proved itself yet, or do you need to wait another year to figure out if it was worth all the trade details?
What?
That's my point.
You were being sarcastic. I was like, yeah, right now you were not feeling
great.
like the Trey Lance deal is a success.
Correct. So we'll circle back after the end of the season and see. But again, I'm just saying, draft Mac Jones, you probably have a Super Bowl title right now.
The Cardinals, you look at their draft, you're like, oh my God, what happened to did they really not have a first round pick? Who they traded for? Oh, that's right. They traded for Marquise Hollywood Brown during prior to the draft. They actually snuck it on Lamar Jackson, who appeared pretty ticked off that Hollywood had asked for their trade request and didn't know about it. They also picked up Trey McBride and then got Cameron Thomas, Myjai Sanders, Keontae Ingram. Is it Lecitus?
Oh, I think it's Lecatus.
Lecatus.
But you could be
Smith, Christian Matthew, Jesse Lacuda, and Marquise Hayes.
No, sorry, you're right. Lecitus. My bad.
How'd you have the pronunciation so fast?
Shout out to Dane Brugler, who has the pronunciations in the Beast. Yeah.
I mean, I don't love. I mean, Trey McBride's fine, and apparently, I think Cameron Thomas is a pretty good player. I don't love spending a first round pick on Hollywood Brown, even though
I'm with you on that. I'm with you.
It was like kind of fine, and then AJ Brown got traded for so Hollywood gets the 23rd pick, and AJ Brown gets the 18th pick. Like,
are you factoring in the suspension part of it for Trey Hopkins?
No, not really.
I think that's part of the math that went into it because the word on the streets the Cardinals knew about it.
Oh, the Cardinals definitely knew about it because because I heard about it a little bit before it actually happened, like just like through some conjecture, not something that you would want to report. And then
Hollywood was in Arizona for the draft party.
So he's waived his appeal, so that means they definitely knew about it.
And Hollywood was in Arizona for a draft party.
Oh, Hollywood was on a private plane before the draft.
That's what I'm saying. He
was they knew about it. And look, here's the other thing too. You bring in Hollywood Brown, you know who's going to quit whinging about his contract all of a sudden? Kyler Murray, because they're best friends. So that I don't hate that from that perspective, Breech.
But I agree with you. I don't think I wouldn't trade the 23rd or 18th, whatever the pick was for him.
You know what? Actually, that's enough analysis for the Cardinals.
I was going to say, do you think the Cardinals even called the Titans about AJ Brown? That's what I want to know.
No, I think they want to get Kyler's guy.
Yeah,
but you know what? Yeah, he is Kyler's guy. That you got Trey McBride, so now you have basically with their first and second round pick, you added 2 targets. You probably knew the Hopkins suspension was coming, and so in that line of thinking, I don't hate their draft, but yeah, it definitely wasn't great.
They ranked second overall on my ranking. So,
oh wow.
But agree, it doesn't factor in the Marquise thing, which I'm not crazy about. I love Trey McBride. I love Cam Thomas. I love Myjai Sanders.
You need to rethink how you do these rankings.
No, it just means I was terrible at grading them. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, I think so. The Rams, finally. Logan Bruss, Jacoby Durant, Kyron Williams, Quentin Lake, Darion Kendrick, Daniel Hardy, Rush East, and AJ Arcuri. I mean, they were drunk. They got drunk. I mean, hypothetically, enjoyed a few adult beverages during before the day one press conference when they were laughing about I didn't realize this. Did you hear McVay had to come out? McVay came out and apologized the next day.
He called Belichick and called Strange to say that he wasn't making fun of them.
I didn't think he was making fun of them at all.
I didn't either. But
I thought he was like, "Oh my God, that's a good pick." We were looking at that guy at 104.
I think he tried to sell it as he was making fun of Les Snead for saying that he might be around at 104.
Yeah, I didn't think that was.
I didn't either. I didn't take it maliciously.
Yeah, I guess
I would imagine Belichick didn't care.
I was surprised to hear he had to do that.
Why? That's the world we
live in. He didn't have to do it. I'm sure he said, I probably don't want. He understood how it was being perceived nationally.
That's the world we live in.
I guess I didn't realize that people were taking it that way.
Oh,
that's the world we live in, Breech, in part because of people like Brinson.
No, the opposite. I said that
I thought you were going to say because of people like me who make a fancy headline and insinuate one thing.
Did you do a headline?
No, I didn't write this. I didn't write a story about it.
How did you not write that story?
Because I was working with you guys and doing a video every other second.
Oh my God, it was
not working with me.
I wouldn't want to.
I gave the Rams a B. Like I think they probably got good value in their picks, but I mean they didn't F them picks, right? I mean they don't pick the like 100. Like how you they didn't have a pick in the first 100 picks. They won the Super Bowl. It's hard to sort of grade a team without a single pick in the top 100, right?
They ranked 23rd in my rankings. Am I doing this pick? Let's see. No, this is Brinson gave him a B.
Yeah.
So let's see what we got here. We got Logan Bruss. He was the guy that was getting a lot of late draft process buzz. Jacoby Durant. I love that kid out of South Carolina State. He's 5'9", 5'8", something like that, but he plays much bigger. I love the Kyron Williams pick out of Notre Dame. He didn't run great at the combine, but he's the best pass blocker in this draft class at the wide receiver position. And then Darion Kendrick transferred from Clemson to Georgia. he somehow ran a 4.78 at the combine or his pro day, one of those two, and he went from like day 2 guy to where they found him there. I think he can be a good football player. I think the B is about right. When you don't have a ton of picks, you just won the Super Bowl because you trade all those picks. It feels like a fair trade-off.
Yeah. We lost Brinson, who clearly we thought was going to check out early this whole entire time because he was so tired of all our stalling and listening to us talk about these picks. But yeah, I mean,
Google Chrome crashed. It wasn't. I was like, they definitely think I'm just like, that's it. I'm done.
Peace out.
Exactly what I was just saying.
All right, for Breech,
I won't add. Yeah, I'm not going to add anything here.
Did you really need me to say? I was hoping I'd come back and you guys would be gone, like the old, like the Shawshank line. He's like, I'm just hoping one day I walk in here and you're just gone. Okay, all right.
Wait, what? From what is that? Ben Affleck and the?
He said Shawshank, but he missed.
Goodwill Hunting.
I mean,
Goodwill Hunting.
God.
Get your movie references. That Batman thing really did mess you up. Get out of here, my God.
All right.
Falling apart at the
Breech,
seams.
for Wilson, I'm Brinson. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. How you like them apples, as Tim Robbins once famously said.